Alright then, what is going on guys? Welcome back to the Golfmagic channel and welcome back to a comparison video. Now before we get into the video, if you guys are new around here, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below to keep up to date with all our equipment reviews, comparisons, challenges, instructions and much more to help you guys improve your game for all of 2021. Now today is a big one, arguably one of the biggest videos of the year. Last week we had Callaway and Taylormade release two new drivers. So we've got the SIM2 here and the Epic. Callaway and Taylormade both have three different product ranges, and what I've got today is essentially the middle ground. So the Callaway Epic Speed and the Taylormade SIM2. Both drivers appeal to every type of golfer, I'd say, and should be forgiving and appeal to people who want forgiveness, distance, and overall just a nice, shiny new driver. Today, what I'm going to do is take these two clubs through its paces here at the Swing Suite at Crowhurst Golf Club. This is an exceptional facility, and it's going to give me a real good chance to see how these two drivers compare to each other in all types of data. The main things I'm going to talk about here and which should help you give a decent understanding of what driver you should get is feel, just how these clubs feel when I'm hitting it out the middle of the face and of off-center strikes, and then do a real deep dive into data and so see how the dispersion is, which one's hitting the middle of the fairway more consistently, and how far each driver is going on average. There's a lot of stuff to consider here because there's so much data that I can give you, but they're the main three things that I'm going to talk about. As well as that, I'm going to talk about the looks of each two drivers, which ones I think are better, which product ranges I'd prefer, and just give an overall decent understanding of each driver range and what you guys should be purchasing in 2021. Without further ado, let's go right into the comparison of the two heavyweights of 2021, the Taylormade SIM2 and the Callaway Epic Speed. Right, so first of all, before we get into this video, it's important to note that I'm not using the same shaft in each driver. I've done many comparisons in the past and I've used the same driver shaft for the testing. But what I've done today and what I will do in the future, unless you guys say in the comments otherwise, is I'm using the driver shafts that you guys can buy stock off the shelf. So with the SIM2, I'm using the Project X Hadidus 6.0 with a low spin 70 gram shaft. And with this, the Callaway Epic, I'm using a Rogue 70 gram shaft as well. So similar in terms of weight, but they are obviously different shafts. Can this affect the data? Yes, of course. The shaft is a big part of testing for the driver and it can affect the spin rate, the dispersion and everything. The reason why I'm not putting the same shaft into each driver is, well, one of the things, I haven't got the same shaft, they obviously are different tips, so I can't put it in and out of each driver, but also it's because they come with different options. So what I've done with the Epic Speed is put a different shaft in, the one that Callaway have given us here at Golfmagic, and the same with the SIM2, I've put a different shaft in. I've been using the SIM2 Project X shaft for the reviews, and the same with the Callaway. So the reviews that you've seen from the Callaway and the Taylormade mean that that's the exact data you'll be seeing. There's no difference here. They are the same setup as well, so they are both delofted. The Callaway is delofted to 8 degrees and this is to 7 degrees. The Callaway has slightly less adjustability in terms of delofting, and that's why it's not down to 7, it's -1, whereas the SIM2 is -2. So without further ado, let's just quickly talk about how each club looks. For me, the main talking point is just the design of the golf clubs, because in terms of head shape, they are pretty similar, and that's not too surprising because they are both appealing to the same type of golfer. But when looking down at the head of the club, there are obviously big differences. The SIM2 is much more of a carbon feature. You can see it's all over the club face, and the colour palette is blue and black rather than the Callaway's green and black, and with a bit of grey and white as well. For me, I can't say which one's better or worse as an absolute concrete answer, because at the end of the day, looks is all down to how you guys perceive it. Some people could prefer blue, some people could prefer green. So I'm not going to say that either is better as an actual answer, but what I'm going to give is my opinion of it, and then you guys can kind of base it off that as well. The Callaway driver in terms of its shaping is more classic. You can see that with the Taylormade Sim, there is that forged aluminium shaping that they've included. That's different in terms of the SIM2 to the Sim, whereas the Callaway is more of a compact profile, more circular, and doesn't have anything, let's say, sticking out. Do I think that's a negative? No, but I would say that that means that the Callaway looks more classical, and that is quite surprising because I do think that Callaway have been pushing away from that classical feel with items such as the B21 driver with the slightly hexagonal shape, and the Maverick, which was pretty loud in its colour palette. But with the design here, I was a bit surprised that it was a little bit more compact and rounded than the SIM2. Do I think that's worse or better? I'm not sure. I would just say that the SIM2 is more of a modernistic approach for a driver. That doesn't mean that the Callaway Epic Speed and the Epic range isn't modern. Obviously you can see that the colour scheme of white, green and black does make it look pretty flashy, but I would think that the SIM2 stands out more. Just my opinion. Looking down at address of each of the clubs, there is obviously a massive difference here, and that's the main difference in terms of looks. The Callaway is just completely black with the carbon crown, which makes it look very classical like previous Callaway drivers of the past. You've got the Epic alignment line just on the back, on the crown of the club, and you've also got the Callaway logo that you see prevalent in all driver ranges. Going on to the Taylormade SIM2, and this is where the difference is here, you can see it's just completely different. The SIM2 has slightly different of an approach in comparison to the Sim in that it's introduced that blue colour palette because of the forged aluminium back ring that's on the Taylormade crown. With that, it's now white, black, grey, blue. So a lot going on, and it certainly looks very flashy. I think looking down at Taylormade drivers all the way from the M2 to now, it just looks cool, to be honest. As a 24-year-old bloke, I just think that looks cooler, but it depends what you guys prefer. The Taylormade is flashier. The Callaway is more of a clean design, but I wouldn't say that either are that in an offensive way. Some people could say that the Taylormade SIM2 it just has too much going on. But we all know from Taylormade previous models, from the SIM2 to the Sim, the M6, M5, all the way down to the R11 range, that they promote themselves on excessive colours, on making it look like a driver that stands out, a driver that you would be wanting to show your mates because it just looks like almost something from a spaceship. So for me, that's why I do prefer the SIM2 driver. I don't think that either instills any less confidence in the club. I'm pretty confident looking down at both of these drivers. They're both pretty large heads. You can say they're pretty forgiving as well. But for me, I do prefer the SIM2 by quite some considerable distance for the Epic Speed, just because the way I look down at it, see such a appealing golf club, especially with the slightly grey finish that it has to the club at address with that black matte finish as well. I do think it just genuinely just looks cooler. I can't put the looks on TrackMan because it's literally just going down to how this club looks in my eyes. So now let's get on to me hitting these clubs here at the Swing Suite at Crowhurst Golf Club. What I'm going to do first is we're going to disregard any data, and I'm just going to hit a few shots with the SIM2 and the Epic Speed and just get a better understanding of how both clubs feel and the differences between them. I have reviewed both these clubs before, and I will say now before I've hit these feel a lot different from just the impact, but also just swinging the club as well. So let's get right into hitting these two drivers.
One way or the other, yeah. I had some hoop dreams, but no jumper like I'm Adam. My pen is too clean, so I had to stick with rapping. My life is hella deep, dog, you couldn't even fathom. My goals are like Twitter, you can see I'm staying at them. I'm trying to be the GOAT, every day I'm chasing ghosts like I'm Danny Phantom. And I can sell a nig, but I'd rather sell a hit, it's my niche.
So I've hit both of these drivers now on the launch monitor here at the Swing Suite at Crowhurst Golf Club. I didn't really focus too much on the data. We were at Wentworth's 12th hole, so I was just trying to see if I could hit the fairway, but gain more of a better understanding of the feel and the comparison between two of these clubs. There's no data to going into this, but what I felt is that the Taylormade SIM2, when swinging the club, even back and through, I knew where the head was all the time, and that's because I feel like the head's heavier. It's more, the weight's based more in the head itself. So when I was swinging it back and through, I knew, and even let's say at impact, just after impact, I could understand instantly if my head was slightly open or slightly closed and I was hitting a push or a pull. With the Epic Speed, I felt that the weighting was more neutral and more well balanced throughout the whole club. I'm not saying that's more of a positive, but it's less head heavy and more balanced throughout the shaft as well. That kind of means as well, when I was going through and doing my full swings and everything, that perhaps I didn't really know where the head was. I didn't know if it was open or closed until I actually saw the flight of the ball. Maybe that's a negative, I'm not really sure, but in terms of the actual feel, I'm again going to allude to the design of the SIM2 being more modern. And with that, the feel of the club feels more, let's say, like a rocket ship, more like a crackle off the face. As soon as you hit it, you know. Whereas with the Epic Speed, it feels slightly smoother throughout impact and throughout the whole swing. I kind of understand as to why they've done this, and I think that's pretty consistent throughout Callaway's drivers. You don't get an instant smack off the club face when you hit the driver. You do with the SIM2, and you have a lot of previous models as well. I remember owning an M4, and it's pretty similar to that in that when you hit it, you know you hit it. You would hear it, and you'd feel it as well. So it's a lot of a kind of difference here, and this is why these drivers are splitting apart in terms of the feel itself. Which one do I prefer in terms of feel? This is really tough because I'm not going to base it off how they went, where they went, if it went left, right, short, span too much. This is just based on let's say if I was blindfolded and hitting these clubs. And I'm really not sure, because although they're so different, it's as to what you prefer. For me, the one main pivotal point here is that the SIM2, I know where the head is every single time, and and I feel like I'm more comfortable hitting, let's say, type of shots, hitting a low draw, hitting a high fade, something like that. I'm doing that on purpose. It's very difficult to do, but if I know where the head is, I feel like I'm more comfortable doing that. So for me, this is why I would choose the SIM2. I'm not saying that the Epic Speed feels bad at all, and I think a lot of players will still like having that smooth, buttery kind of feel throughout the whole swing. So I'm not saying that the Epic Speed feels bad, but for me, I feel like if you want something that feels more like a crack off the club face, a real noise, this is the one for you. So it's a very different type of feel for both clubs, which is quite interesting because I feel that today in the current golf club market, a lot of golf clubs are the same. But with two massive heavyweights going into 2021, these do feel a lot different. If you guys have tried these already and have some opinions on the feel of the Epic Speed and the SIM2, let me know down in the comments as to how you think they're different. It's interesting to see how these clubs are going away from each other, in that this for me feels a lot more modernistic in its looks and its feel, whereas the Epic Speed and the Callaway ranges are more classical in the design and in that it's more smooth and buttery going through the club. So it's quite an interesting one. Now, we've got 2 bits left this video, and it's currently 1-0 to the Taylormade SIM2. What I'm going to do now is we're going to go a bit into the data, but we're just going to go into the dispersion. So what I'm going to go here is I'm just going to hit 10 drives with each driver, and I'm going to see how often I can hit the fair with each of them. And then from that, we'll crown a winner. Let's get right into it.
Yeah, we came a long way. That's what the song say. And I could do all things. I could do all things. Yeah, I could do all things. Yeah, we came a long way. That's what the song say. And I could do all things. I could do all things. I can do all things. Yeah. I'm not afraid of the moment. I'm not afraid I can't hold it. I gotta show 'em. Gotta get up in the morning. I gotta do it for Kobe. Lately I'm zoning. Lately I know where I'm going. Taking whatever control it. Show me opponents. Show me opponents. I got a gift and I'm starting to own it. Yeah. We came a long way. And that's what the song say. And I can do all things. I can do all things. Yeah, I can do all things. Yeah. We came a long way. And that's what the song say. And I can do all things. And I can do all things. And I can do all things. Yeah. We came a long way. And that's what the song say. And I can do all things. I can do all things. I can do all things. Yeah. We came a long way. And that's what the song say. And I can do all things. I can do all things. I can do all things. Yeah. Shout to the city that raised me. Shout to the people that made me. I'm from the 80s. I don't think mumbling wavy. I grew up like on a Jay-Z. Maybe I'm crazy. I ain't been wondering lately. Feel like it's there for the taking. Feel like I'm good with the changes. Know who I am. And that's the most dangerous statement. Yeah. We came a long way. And that's what the song
So that finishes up the accuracy testing of the Callaway Epic Speed versus the Taylormade SIM2. I'm here and using this TrackMan on Wentworth on the 4th hole, a lovely par 5 with a nice little dog leg down to the left, downhill, so needs some accuracy. As you can see, I had some help today so we could get a little bit more, some different people just to help us out with the accuracy testing. I had Scott here from the Swing Suite to help me out, and we both hit 5 shots each with each driver to see how we got on. And as you can see, the Callaway won by 7 to 6 here. But what we noticed was that when hitting, in terms of dispersion, we were missing left and right with the Taylormade a little bit more, but obviously I'm missing by 1, not too much. With the Callaway, we were having a lot difference in terms of spin. So we were having a few that were going to about 4,000 RPM. So in terms of the actual distance and dispersion overall, I'd say the Callaway was a little bit wider, but it was going just a little bit straighter. Still though, both drivers did perform optimally, and there weren't actually any drivers that we would say missed that considerably. They were only going a little bit left or a little bit right. And for the 4th hole at Wentworth, I'd say that's pretty good. So we'll give that 1-1 so far between the Taylormade SIM2 and the Callaway Epic Speed. And the last test we'll do is the actual important one, I'd say, the one where we really boil down to the data. This obviously factors in the shafts as well, but what I'll give you is the spin rate, the distance, and as well as that, I'll see which one goes the furthest. Let's now put it on the TrackMan and see which driver comes out tops. Right, so that brings us to the end of the data testing for the SIM2 and the Callaway Epic Speed. I've hit these two clubs a lot, probably too much actually. If you didn't see the Callaway Epic review video for the Epic Speed, the Epic Max and the Epic Max LS, you would have seen that in the Epic Speed, I said that it spanned probably a bit too much for a mid-hybrid driver. It did have a big jump in comparison to the Epic Max LS. And what I managed to do in this video was actually control the spin a little bit more in terms of its average. So I'll show you the data for the Epic Speed now. As you can see, decent numbers, not bad at all. But the main thing that I do want to say is the spin consistency. This is largely probably down to me as well, down to my swing, down to where I'm hitting it. But what a lot of brands are saying is that from wherever you hit it on the face, you should be getting consistent numbers in terms of ball speed and spin. The Epic Speed for me, and what's letting it down is that is not the case. It goes back and forwards. It goes from 2,000 RPM, or maybe 2,200 RPM, all the way up to 4,000. And that goes back and forth. Not all the time, but in terms of your misses, that's what you were getting. With the SIM2, it doesn't do that as much. So I'll put the SIM2 data up on the screen for you now. And as you can see, it's pretty much the same in terms of its averages. It's a little bit better, and that's kind of what you expect with two heavyweight drivers. But the main thing I'm noticing is it's more consistent. The dispersion, the overall results, it's more consistent. Yes, I'm going a little bit further left and right, which means I'm probably missing the fairway a little bit more for those tighter fairway, tighter courses. But if I'm putting every single ball on a tee, on a mat, they're much closer together. The speed is further apart, and for me, it's just the spin rate. Could it be down to the shaft? I don't think so, because I had this problem just with the Epic Speed, and I used the shaft for all of the other Callaway drivers in testing in our previous video. So for me, that's a massive, massive positive towards the SIM2, and it just is a little bit of a letdown for the Epic Speed. So for the main part, for the data of this video, I'm giving the crown to the Taylormade SIM2. So it's 2-1, and for me, that is the final result of this testing. But as I said, there is one little bit that I'm going to put into the video now, because as much as you want an all-around driver, everyone loves long drive, and everyone loves getting the maximum distances from your driver. So let's see how these two drivers compare, and see if the Callaway can get 1 point back, even though I do think overall the Taylormade SIM2 is a better driver. But let's see how far each driver goes for my long drive session. Right, so that brings me to the end of the long drive testing. That was a lot of work and a lot of fun, but the Taylormade SIM2 just about edged it overall. This got 352 yards, whereas the Callaway Epic Speed got 348 yards. But I was hitting the grid a lot more with the SIM2 than I was with the Callaway Epic Speed. So again, kind of echoes the consistency and the tighter dispersion that I mentioned for more or less all of this video. Overall, if you haven't been able to tell already, the SIM2 trumps the Callaway Epic Speed, and that's the Golfmagic opinion. The Epic Speed is not a bad driver in any way, and when you hit it out the middle with that smooth, buttery feel, it does produce a lovely ball flight and you get very good results. But when comparing it to the SIM2, Taylormade have built upon the exceptional performance of the original Sim and made this driver more forgiving, and it seems that tighter in its dispersion as well. So for us, the SIM2 comes up trumps. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video and enjoy these comparison videos between drivers. If you guys want us to do any other comparisons, let us know down in the comments. The next comparison coming very, very soon will be the Taylormade SIM2, the winner of today, against the Cobra Rad Speed. Two exceptional drivers that I've tested already, but I'm not quite sure which one will come out tops. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think. And let me know down in the comments as well what other comparisons you guys want to see of all the new releases that have already been released in 2021. I'll see you guys at the next video.